Hey, good morning. Happy Saturday. Uh, This is ASN Pull Up a Chair, episode 8. Today, there are no guests, and normally there is on a Saturday. I'll explain why that is here in a minute. Um, let me just get into it. So this episode is going to be a little different, and that's intentional. Excuse me. It's not a hot take show that I've been trying to do, if you will. It's not a debate, or discussion with anybody. Obviously, I will bring up the chat. In fact, I should bring up the. Is it letting me? Here we go. I don't want that on. Usually chat thing here. Anyway, that's not showing up now either. Great. Um, okay, it doesn't matter. Oh, here it is. I know where it's at now. Okay. All right. So anyway, this is just basically a check-in. For me, my work week was a heavy one this week. That's why Tuesday's show got pushed back, along with just not having the teams I need to play that game out. They're sitting in my storage facility. So I'm actually hoping to get over there today to get those. But again, even if I had had them, I wouldn't have done the game this week because I just had one of those weeks for work where it was just busy. It wasn't stressful; it was just busy, and that's okay. I mean, it's work, right? Sometimes we get those. Also, to add on to all that, we're fostering a dog, which is why I kind of started the show a little earlier. I have to go take the dog to an adoption event, so had to start the show a little earlier. So there was that, and it's a puppy, and so it's crapping all over the house. As any of you have ever had a puppy, they crap all over the house. So that's stressful. Trying to keep up with it, and it's high energy dog. So all that and just takes all the energy out of me. So when this happens, I've learned something about myself for sure. I can't fake energy. So I can either fake that energy, which you guys will tell right away I don't have, or I can tell you the truth of where I'm at, which is I'm just exhausted this week. And I could have not. Boy, that's some horrible English language right there. I could have made the decision to postpone this episode. I just didn't want to. I wanted to at least check in. And I also wanted to mention that I did do an episode 7, and it was a podcast, a straight out audio podcast that I did. If you haven't listened to it yet, I will say 2 things. One, it's on my YouTube page, and 2, if you're in any way a non-AI person, you probably don't want to watch it or listen to it, I should say, because as I said in the podcast, that's my job. I'm not being passionate about AI because I like it, even though I do. I really do. It's my job. It's what I do for a living. And some of the comments sent me sideways this week on some of the Facebook groups. Because I felt attacked. I felt my job was being attacked. I felt my livelihood, my passion, what I love to do for a living was being attacked. And I think if any of you were attacked at your job or about your job, I try to make the bridge of a UPS driver, because we all attack them, right? We don't get our game in time and we get pissed off at UPS or FedEx or whoever's supposed to be bringing our game. You saw a lot of that during COVID. And if I was a UPS driver and I was working really hard and doing what I was supposed to do, we get this person in my hobby is bitching about my company, I'd be pretty upset. So Ian stops by. Hey Ian, how's it going? And Ian, I'm gonna get that game in, I promise you. I'm gonna go. I'm hoping after I get the dog over to the adoption. I hope I don't have to stay. I've never done this before. If I don't have to stay for 5 hours, I'm going to run over to I'm going to use that time to run over to the storage facility and pick up the teams I need. Well, I'm going to pick up a lot of stuff, but I'm going to pick, definitely in that pickup is going to be those teams, basically just the entire thing. Anyway, so getting back to my analogy there of the UPS driver, and now, as I think through that, I feel bad because I'm quite sure I've posted stuff before about, not getting my package or pissed off at UPS doing X or an Amazon driver being X. There could be people in our hobby that are those. Hey, John Wise, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I know. I just want to say it anyway because it makes it holds me accountable to myself, if you will. I think you get that. Anyway, I just, if I've ever offended anybody in their job, I definitely want to apologize because I felt that this week. I really felt that. I felt personally attacked at not only my job, but because I am passionate about my job. And it wasn't that people were just saying, I'm not going to use AI or whatever. They were literally, some people were attacking the ethics of it very strongly and making comments about not buying and never using it, which was ridiculous because they're doing that on social media. Part of me, I went through so many phases this week. I ended up doing that show, but I went through so many phases of like anger and then I just need to educate the hobby. Maybe that's my job. And I'm like, no, it's not. People need to educate themselves. So I just went through a lot of emotions this week on that. And then that all spit out into that podcast. And I can tell you, funny thing is that was the fourth take on that. The first take was all video, and dumb me, and I'm looking down right now to make sure, was I had my mic on mute. So thank God, because quite honestly, that was not something that should have been, that I would have regretted that going public because that was my pissed off phase. And so and then I was even more pissed off because I went through like a 45-minute rant and I didn't capture any of it. All I captured was video of me just getting mad on video, but nothing on the mic. So I took my advice that I give a lot of people, which is drop the keyboard and slowly back away. I did, came back, got everything set, and I got like about halfway through and realized that a venting episode was not, it would get a lot of clicks, right? I mean, we all know this, right? As soon as we don't get clicks or YouTube and all the other AI stuff that, all these podcasts and videos, you want to see 300 people look at your video. Oh, it's somehow supposed to make you feel good. I always use the analogy of you can have a no-hitter and you'll get 10 people looking at it. You scream and yell about somebody and create massive drama and you're going to get 5,000, people looking at your video. And I started thinking, wow, this is really going to gain a ton of attention, but it's not going to get the point across. So I stopped, deleted, started again. The third round, my computer had enough. Right in the middle, I just couldn't believe it. Right in the middle, the computer just stopped. It just rebooted itself, and I'm like, it's probably tired of listening to me. It was really wild. I've never had that happen to my laptop, but it just completely rebooted. And then what was awesome, I thought, I give StreamYard credit here, is when I rebooted back up and just typed in StreamYard and went to it, it immediately popped right back into the show. It was wild. And my whole entire computer rebooted, I didn't just lose, Edge or any of that. The entire system rebooted. But yet I went right back into the episode. So there's about 4 hours of dead time in that. 4 hours. There's like 4 minutes of dead time on that podcast. So I tried to go edit it, and all the editing software was not letting me delete that. And Ian, you probably understand this. Was not letting me delete that little spot. I mean, I was able to carve it out. It showed, and I used like 4 different tools, and it would delete that little 4-minute spot of dead air, and then it would just add it to the next segment. It's like, I'll just tell people it's just not there. So I ended up putting up what I did. I still got frustrated in that video for sure, or in that audio, because the passion's going to come out. And no matter what I did, even this morning, no matter what I do, I'm still replaying in my head what some people said in those groups. And it's one thing to have an educated debate, and it's another to have people posting and they have no idea what they're talking about, and they're being negative about something you're passionate about and that you do for a living. That really, got on me. And if I lose people because they listen to that and they're anti AI and are offended by how I called them out yesterday, then I lose them. I don't want to say I don't care, but I'm not going to. When I'm attacked, I'm gonna fight back. And so, if you didn't like me fighting back, and you can't come back, and you want to, anybody wants to jump on this show and wants to debate AI, and you want to take the anti-AI stance, I'm more than welcome you onto the show. And it will be professional, and it will not get crazy, but I would love to have you on, because I will debate anyone about AI. Do I think AI is perfect? You tell me what in this world is perfect. Nothing is perfect. Okay. It's a tool in a toolbox, and people are scared of it. And it's ridiculous. And here I am, I'm going off on the tangent on AI, and I promised myself I wouldn't, so I'm backing out of it. So what I wanted to have on the show was to, say nothing's wrong. The show isn't in trouble. I'm not quitting, but I'm just not firing on all cylinders. Part of it is, that AI yesterday. Part of it is most of it is the work week. We all have those. It happens. So, I just wanted to get on and just make sure people knew I was on here. But, and I know Ian understands this. There's a weird pressure in the creator space, to create these videos, to create these podcasts, especially in our hobby, which is, I saw that Vinny's creating his own show. Way to go, Vinny. I applaud anybody who is starting shows, and I'll get into that in a second. Let me not get off on a tangent. Just applauding Vinny for jumping in. I know he had some drama, and he's attacking that drama. In my opinion, I haven't talked to Vinny at all, so this is just my opinion. In my opinion, Vinny is not walking away from the hobby. Vinny is not walking away from people. Vinny is not. What he's doing is kind of, I don't want to say it's courageous, but it is. He's basically just saying, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to start my own. I'm going to run my own show the way I want it. And come along if you want, kind of what I'm doing. And I just applaud him for that. I'm glad that he took a deep breath, thought about everything, and decided to run his own show. So good for Vinny. But in this, where I was going with that was in this creator space. There is, a pressure, if you will, to have every episode mean something, and be, well, what did Dave talk about on Digital Dice this week? Or was that episode boring? Or did he just repeat what John talked about, or did he repeat what now Vinny is talking about? And so to come up with content, and to come up with not just content. I can come up with 40 subjects right now to talk about, but is that content? I'm not doing one right now because I needed to be passionate. I need to be passionate about the content so it comes through, because then it's going to be a good show. But if I just, hey, let's just talk about X, and I'm not into it, and it's not going to come across a good show, especially without a guest. So, and I should really say that as well. Because of that crazy work week, the dog, everything going on, I just didn't have time to even get some people lined up. I do have people already lined up for next week, and I'm not going to release that yet, who that is, because I have to confirm with them. But we initially agreed on next Saturday for them to be on the show. I can say it's a pretty good guest. I'm pretty excited about having him on, but I need to make sure. When you talk 2 weeks ago to somebody and they say, well, let's do it this date, things happen in life to everybody. So I just need to check in with him and make sure he's still good for Saturday. And as soon as I get that okay from him, I will release who's on next Saturday's show. But I can tell you, I think a lot of people will check in because it's a pretty cool it should be a pretty cool show. Going back to what I was saying, which is, and John's jumping on about the AI. I believe, he uses Leonardo to create driver photos for the current Scram season. That's pretty cool. John, I have never tried Leonardo. I just go straight through ChatGPT, but I have, as I explained on my show, I have a complete system model setup that I've been working on for years that, allows me to get that done. But I actually kind of want to, now I'm going to look into that later. So thanks for jumping in there. But you've seen my stuff, John. I create everything out of ChatGPT. And I don't have any issues. I should say any issues. Of course I have issues. There's a love-hate relationship with it. Anything that, love-hate relationship with C&D, don't we all? Times it really frustrates us. But yeah, I love creating photos. And that, could be a show all by itself, which is, I know I kind of did a prep show with all the work that I do, but showing people how to do those, John, getting those driver photos for fictional, Scrambian fictional season. I'm kind of looking at that right now. I'm messing around with the 1961 Continental, and some of these players are real. Some of these players I don't believe are real. And so, or if you use the Leap project, none of those players are real. So, fictional characters are pretty cool to do. The Forgotten Man drops by. Welcome. I don't know that I've seen you in here before, so welcome to the show. And if I missed you before, I apologize. And then John says, "Hey, Forgotten." I'm not sure what that means. But okay. So anyway, I just wanted to say that having major content and guests for every single show, it's just not sustainable, or even just every Saturday show, because life is going to get in the way. But I maintain my goals for this show, which is Tuesday is generally me and with some sort of topic or some sort of presentation or game or whatever. And Saturdays will be more of a talk show to kind of go through stuff and have a guest on here that matters and just talk to you guys, like I'm kind of doing now through the chat. So anyway, the Forgotten Man is Mike. Oh, I should have looked at the dang photograph. I didn't look at the photograph. Duh. Hey, Mike, how you doing? So anyway, so there's that. If anybody's got anything they want to talk about in chat, pop it in. You could start up a discussion. So, and you're going to have to tell me this running joke at some point, because I need to know who's the Forgotten Man. I have an idea, but I'm going to leave it alone for right now. It's probably an inside joke that I don't know, but I do think it's kind of funny. Okay, so anyway, I still wanted to show up. I still wanted to hit record. I still wanted to talk to everybody, let everyone know I'm here. I'm not running anywhere. I'm excited about Vinny's show. Can't. I think he starts that next week. I could be wrong. Um, and so anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. I thought it might end up being kind of a short show, if you will. But the one thing I definitely could talk about it, or really just throw this out to the chat is, and I know, Mike, I kind of threw this to you this week that I felt burnt out, and I felt this combination of burnout slash shiny new toy. But even the shiny new toy, I pulled out that 1961 Continental set that came in and got it all set up through Digital Diamond, did all that work. Sometimes I think that's what I like the most. It's really weird. Or I get in stages where the setup is the most fun for me. So I did all that setup for Leap, all those teams. What is it, 32 teams? That's any of you use Digital Diamond to try and set up 32 fictional teams. So I had to do all the CSV files. I had to do all that, and then I put the player ratings that are defensive in Digital Diamond, so they show up on the screen. I did all that work, and then 1961 Continent, and I played, several games. I think I got about 3 games in for every team, and then the 61 Continental set shows up on my desk. And I'm just staring at it, going, I think I should do, and then I read the back of it, and then I do some research on what that was all about. I'm like, now the itch is scratching, and okay, let's pop that open. So I popped that open, and I have a job that's hurry up and wait. So I may start at 6 a.m. and finish at 6 p.m. In between that, I may have an hour here and there to do stuff. And so I'm staring at the Continental, which is probably wrong. I should have took the Continental set and put it in my closet. But when I do that, I forget about it. So I had it on my desk. So of course, it's on my desk, and I'm staring at it, even while I'm working. And I'm like, I got to open that up. I got to at least look at the cards. I got, at least ends up turning into using. And so I even played a game this morning. First one. I finally got a game out this morning after getting all the data in. So I did show, but Mike, I think your advice to me when I told you I just felt burnt out, I just didn't feel like doing anything. Part of that was I just felt burnt out, not a hobby, but if the hobby was leaking into that, of course, I just felt burnt out. I was tired, had the puppy deal going on, had the work going on, had this show going on. Knew I had to get over to storage. I was just piling too many things on top of it, and I just was like, exhausted, creeps in. So your advice, though, I should get to what you said, was just play a game. Just play a game. So I did. I actually started a game and got to about the second or third inning and grabbed my drink and walked out of my office. It just wasn't there. And that's the worst thing. To me, I get that there's people who can play through, and I know, Mike's talking about get that Leap series going. Yep. And John's saying let's continue to get through the discussion on that. Keep going. It describes me perfectly. I like setting up and creating projects, but don't always finish them. Yep. It's great. The beginning, that honeymoon, is awesome. That middle is considered divorce, and then the end is I finished 2 projects myself, and I'm talking not just something like a tournament. Not that that's easy to do, but of course that's much more. That's not a mountain; that's a hill. When I say projects, I'm talking large projects. Every team, every game, those kind of things. Those are large projects to me. That's where the middle becomes, am I going to stash this and play it later? And I do that. Like 1980, my 1980 universe has been stashed for a couple of months now. I think about it probably once or twice a week about picking it back up. So I do believe I'm being honest with myself when I say I am going to pick that back up. But as all you guys know, sometimes you say you're going to pick it back up, but that's just making yourself feel better about starting something else. So you say you're going to pick it back up, but then you never do. Um, and and so then it becomes a project I didn't complete, and now you feel, if you're like me, now you feel like, oh man, I wasted time on that. Maybe you wasted time on it. Maybe you got something out of it. Maybe it was you learned how to play red, white, and blue racing out of it. You know, you might have got stuff out of it, but if you're like me, you just have that feeling like you didn't go to the finish line, and you feel like you're a finish line person. So that so what are so John is really hitting with, you know, and I love to hear the chat on this with people who have gone to create projects, start projects, big projects. And, you know, Mike C, right now you're running a ginormous project on Leap. And how do you know, even it's a co-op, so he's got help, if you will, but I think he's doing a majority of the work, I believe. So how do you get through that? I think you're 10, 15 games in each team. Maybe you're a little farther now, 20, 25. But I wouldn't consider that the middle yet. But I also know how many games you've probably played, which is probably pretty crazy. How do you have you hit, in your opinion, your middle, or maybe you're getting close to that? And is it as simple for you? I should say simple, but is your answer what your own advice to me, which is when you start to feel a little like, man, I gotta pop this. I mean, you know, when the hobby becomes work or feels like work, do you just play yourself through it? It sounds like that's what you do. You play yourself through it. You force yourself to get those teams out on the table, and it reinvigorates you at some point, and you're able to work through it. And I can say that happened for me on my 1977 replay for sure. John says he's stuck on July 1 and a 1980 replay. Okay. I asked that, John, that had happened to me in the 77. I think right around July 1st, maybe July 15th, I got stuck in 1977. I could say 1986. I didn't get stopped at all. I ran that all the way through. I don't remember the exact dates, but I remember go back and looking on I used, what's it called? Oh gosh. I can never remember the name of that damn software. Not Scoresheet. Scoresheet's the game we talked about last week. Anyway, it's something. There's a score part to it, and then there's another part to it. Anyway, it's a way to do scoring. And the actual developer of that utility passed away, unfortunately, but that product works fantastic. I was using that, and so the point is that I was able to go back and look on my computer and see the start dates of that and the finish dates, and so I knew it took me about a year and a half, I think it was total. And you can just see and the dates where all the games are being saved and the box scores, is you can just, there's almost like not a day, and that I should, obviously there were days in there, but there wasn't any chunks of missing time. A day or two here and there, but I could see 10, 15 games a day that I was doing. And that 86 replay, beginning to end, basically no interruptions. Now 77, I got to, again, like John Wise, I got to like somewhere in July, and I just was like, oh, I don't know if it was a shiny new toy. I don't know if it was just me being burnt out on 77. I don't know what it was, but I shelved it for a good probably 3 to 4 months and started something else. But then I came back to it, and from that point on, I finished it. So, so those are my two big project experiences. that have made it to the end, and both, obviously they're a little different. And I have talked about this in previous things. One thing I've said that I think makes a big difference is the game you're using. And Kevin Thomas and I have talked about this, and I think I've talked to a few others, but Kevin Thomas and I talked about this offline once, about how, and I did do this, I did start this, and I don't remember what year it was that I did this. Oh, it was 77. Why am I saying that? 77. This is what got me through 77. Oh, now I remember. Sorry, CTE was creeping in there. How I finished 77, John, was I came to the realization, I'm not going to name games because that's not fair. But I started with X game and it got me to July. That's pretty impressive. What you've done already, John, to get it to the point where you are is pretty impressive. I know how many games you've played to get to that point. But I came to the realization after 3 months of doing other things, and I kept thinking, I want to go back to that. Do you know what stopped me from going back to that 77 season? It was the game. I was burnt out on the game. Now, again, that game wasn't bad. Hell, I played all the way to July. And Mike C can probably tell you how many games that is. But that, we're talking 1977, every team, every game, all the way to mid-July. But me realizing it was the game that I wasn't interested in picking back up, not really my project, I decided to use other games to finish it off, because it's not like you're using a computer game where you to continue on, you got to drag files over if they're even compatible, blah, 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 blah. No, this is our C&D, and I was just scoring and ball stat. That's it, ball stat. So it is that, that's just an entry, just like Digital Diamond is. Well, I know Digital Diamond's more than just that, but that's what I use it for, along with Status Pro Advanced. Now I'm getting off on tangents, but that is, so then I came to the realization, because there's always this, well, if you switch games and you switch engines, now maybe there's something wrong with your replay. Finish it or don't finish it. It doesn't matter. And as many you find out, you can do an entire 40,000 game season and nobody gives two craps. So you really just have to do it, again, for yourself. And I wanted to get 77 over the line. So I picked up another game. And then that game lasted maybe a month. And I'm talking a month of scheduled games in 1977. And the shiny new toy came, so, or was presented. And I was like, well, why don't I get the shiny new toy, but get the 1977 season? So I got the shiny new toy in with the 1977 season. I was able to play basically all of September, October. So I think it was 3 games. It might have been 4 different games I used to do that, but that helped me get through the rest of it. I will say, and because I've said it before, the 1986 season was payoff pitch. It was my first venture into payoff pitch, and I did not need to replace payoff pitch. I was excited as can be with that game. And probably, I don't know, I'll just say this. That's what I started out with in 77, was payoff pitch. And I probably, as any of you might know, you play an entire season with something that takes 1.5 years. And then I went right into 1977, payoff pitch. And I just burnt out on the game. I just played too much of it. And so that's why I went into other games. I grabbed other games to finish out that 77 season. And that helped. So so as an idea, if you do get burnt out, but you still like your replay, you're not burnt out on your project, you can come to the realization that you're just burnt out on the game you're playing. And I actually kind of starting to feel that way about play right now. Everyone knows I love play. I love playing History Maker Baseball and all the others. I think I'm burning out on it. I'm playing it too much. I picked up the Leap set. I picked up the 61 Continental set. Before that, I think I was using play, or I'm using play for, I love Hockey Blast and Hockey Blast Express. And so I'm using the same engine, and I think I need to flip over to some of my other games now, because I think that's part of my burnout. I'll find out if I pick up, I'm looking over at my list of stuff over here. Maybe I'm going to pick up. I've got like 5 or 6 seasons blocks, as everyone knows, payoff pitch sitting in my closet. Maybe I'm going to grab one of those and start working on a season with those. But I'm just throwing that out there, as that's a way to consider keeping your project going by reinvigorating it with a different engine. I will say, since I think the 77, no, it wasn't. You do have to consider changing engines. Like if you use Digital Diamond, like I do, if you change engines, yes, the scoring is the same. You're still just putting in, the manual scoring. But for me, I like the defensive ratings on there. So I would have to go through every team and change the defensive ratings to match the game I'm playing. That would really be my only alteration of what I had to do. And again, that would make me feel like that brand new start that John and I just were kind of chatting back and forth here, and that he's put in there. That would give me that setup feeling in the middle of July of a replay. So, I mean, take that for what you will. If you hate setup, that's probably not going to work for you. Unless, of course, like you don't put the defensive ratings in, then you can just basically bounce right into it. I think that's helpful. Outside of that, I have also, I think in 1986, if I look at that and talk about or think about what really kept me motivated throughout that, besides a game engine that I was really just having so much fun with, is that I stayed intact with the story and the stories that were happening with every team. And it just felt natural. Everything was going well. Everything was, I was really into the Lance Parrish thing. How many home runs could he hit? I knew there was a point he was coming out because I was doing as-played replays and he got hurt that year. How far can how big of a lead in the home runs could he get? Because he was way out in front at the All-Star break, or getting toward the All-Star break, I think it was at that point. I think he got hurt at the All-Star break or right after, somewhere in there in that year. And he ended up still winning the home run race, which was quite amazing. And then, of course, that was my storyline as I continued on, was, can anybody catch him? He's out. Can anybody catch him? And no one could. So, having those stories develop and taking the time to find them, sometimes, stopping your replay and looking at your statistics and looking at what's going on and looking where everybody is and trying to figure out, I was really into the Boston thing. How are you really digging deep to figure out why are these guys so horrible? I mean, I knew I was playing them. I knew it was the bullpen, but how bad was it? And it was pretty bad. And then, of course, the story in the second half for them was they started making their way up the ladder. And so that was exciting to watch. Could they make it all the way back? And they didn't, but it was fun to watch, or fun to play out. So you got to get the stories in there for that as well. So let's check in here with the chat a little bit. I went on a little rant there. What's motivating me is to continue listening to your streams and other streams of other players to see everyone's love for these games. Yeah. John, sometimes maybe just drop the keyboard, slowly back away and watch others. Sometimes just drop the keyboard and walk away completely. Take a day or two or a week off, and get remotivated back in. I find that hard to do because I get just a little itch back and I want to get right back to my desktop. Not to mention I work from home, so my desktop and my gaming is right next to my work. So it's always there yelling at me, pick me up. Mike says here we go, some numbers. Close to 400 games into 2,596 to be played. As commissioner, I have to input all the games. That's almost like playing them yourself. Kind of gives you a break from playing. Oh, that's an interesting thought, Mike. It kind of gives you a break from playing. I know from being in that 1984 community replay that I actually enjoyed in the beginning. And this is, I hope nobody takes this as a hit. It's the way it's set up. I didn't like the way it was set up. And because you played the game, you had your box score, you had all your stuff, and then you had to turn around and go back and this is what you're doing for everybody else, Mike. And I just couldn't do this. for me, I couldn't do this. Is go back and then put everybody's stats in. And so individually, we were all putting our stats back in. And I was like, God, play a game and then turn around and put all the stats in. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. When I'm in a co-op, and I've tried to mention this in a couple of co-ops I've been in, well, I don't understand why we all can't use the same tool, especially if it's free. And then it's apples to apples, not, we're not all using something different, or it's not all on one guy in the co-op to do all the stats. I think that for me, that's my downfall of co-ops, is not using the same tool to record our stats. And I just think that makes it easier on the leader. It makes it easier, unless you have a commissioner like Mike who's going to drop all the stats for you, and all you got to do is play it. Or if you use paper and pencil, you just have to send him a picture of the game and you're off to the next game, which again, I think burns him out on it. I just think we should all agree on the same tool, or if you're going to start a co-op league, you should say, this is what we're going to use. And people who want to join should use it. I just think just throwing out there that everybody can use whatever they want, I get that makes it, you're going to maybe get more people, but I just think it causes more chaos. So anyway, I digress on that. But that's why I jumped out of the 1984, was I just didn't want to input my results. I was just, I don't know, just took something away from it. John Wise, I don't do every team. I do the Red Sox on the computer. Okay. All right. Still, that's 162 games you're trying to get through. That's no small task. I mean, I'm sitting here playing NHL 24-25, as I've mentioned many times, in an express format. I've played a few out in just the regular, but most of them are in the express format, and I'm at 250 games. And I mean, that's a whole. I'm doing every team, every game. So forget if you're only doing one, just look at the amount. 162 games is still a whole. It's not 2,000, as Mike's putting, but it's still a whole. And it all depends on the time you have. Mike says, my concern will be when we get later into the season playing series with teams that are not very good. Yes. Thank God Brad from the show last week likes to play those types of series, which is big help. Yeah, Brad's I'm going to start nicknaming him the lovable loser. Not that he's a loser, but he loves the losers. He loves to play those, like you're saying, Mike. So I think we're going to name him LL, or lovable loser. Yes, you have to have those kind of guys, especially in a co-op, to take those kind of games. I'm actually probably more like Brad in that perspective. Maybe that's why it helped me get through the 86 and 77 as well. I didn't see Detroit and Minnesota. I always use those. Detroit was actually a good team unless they won the division. I don't see, two teams, Kansas. Let's see, Kansas City's out of it, and Minnesota's out of it. I don't see that as much as, I get that it's exciting if you're playing the teams that are in the pennant race, but like I said, to get me through a replay of that size, almost 3,000 games, is having a story for every team, whether they're in it or not, or having a story for players within that team. That's what's going to get you through those kind of things. So I did a great job in 86. 77, not as good, but flip the engines to get that for me to get through. But 86, I had a story for every team, and it really worked for me. So every time I had a game, I was excited to get the two teams on. Boston was out of it. I was still interested to see how close they could get. I'm trying to think of some of the, I forget already, because it was a long time, almost 10 years ago I did that. So, but I had something for everybody. San Diego, all the teams that were out of it, some of them 30 games out of it, and I still had something. And here comes John. Hecko's in. Hi, John. Lots of Johns in this. And John says, I can help with games too, Mike. Oh, there you go. You're already getting help. Let's see what else we have. The Johns are taking over. See, we think alike, Mike. Please change all your names to John if they're not already. If you didn't catch that, it's a mandatory thing for this show. Thanks for beating my Red Sox. There you go. my teams to the Milwaukee Wounded. Oh, I think we're talking hockey. I think we're talking about our XHL here. Man, my team fell out of first place. I go over to the standings. I had finished my games earlier in January and turn around and I'm in like third place all of a sudden. We're any of you don't know, we have an XHL community. That one is an interesting, not community, but co-op going, because you guys tell me if I'm wrong. I don't see that anybody's doing stats for that. I know that we're supposed to put in, I just put in my box score. Nobody said anything wrong, but we're supposed to have the goals and assists and all this other stuff, but I've not seen any stats for that. I don't know who's leading the league in scoring and points or goals or what the goalies' records are or nothing. I think we've all just been having fun watching the teams go up or down. And again, that's another one where it's like, since everybody's doing their own thing and recording their own way, and there's not one format, that's a lot on somebody to go in and do that. I think somebody was supposed to be doing that for our league, but again, I haven't seen anything. Correct me if I am wrong. But I haven't seen anybody do anything as far as overall stats. We have a standings and that's it. So anyway, John says that's a great idea with searching engines. I do have 1980 Strat Baseball and HMB. Does season ticket have 1980? I don't know. It's a great question. I would suggest I don't know if you have Digital Diamond, John, but if you do, take a look at Status Pro Advanced. It's really easy to pick up, especially if you know Status Pro. There's really not a whole lot to the Advanced. This isn't like jumping to APA Master, APA Master, or even a Strat Advanced level. It's more like flipping the Strat card and just using a right-left combination on a Strat card. I would make that determination. But most of it is right there on the computer, and the cards are right there for you, which is nice. You can still buy the cards if you want them. I like having the cards right on the screen. It's pretty cool. And the facts are right there as well. You can hit the fact cards. I like Status Pro Advanced. I like what the guy did with that. I think he did a great job. And so sometimes that can help you as well if you think about it, John. Not only can you fast forward through you said you're simming everything outside the Sox, so the Red Sox. So what are you simming with? I guess that's a better question. Are you using like Action PC, or are you using Digital Diamond? And again, if you are, that would be an easy switch. It is to switch over, or not switch, but just once in a while use Status Pro Advanced for that game. You can also use Sports Illustrated. I think they have in there now. So a lot of options to kind of, just even once in a while flip it. If you don't feel like having the cards on the table, you just don't feel like getting all that out, you want to flip to Status Pro Advanced game. So easy. I have the 1981 season going in Status Pro Advanced, and when I don't feel like getting games out, I just want to play a quick game, I jump on that immediately and play the Status Pro Advanced. I can get through a game real fast with having the cards on the screen. It's pretty cool. Works for me. John, get your revenge at Fenway. Okay, so maybe I'm not talking about the right thing here. So we're talking about Fenway there, so I don't think we're talking about the hockey. I think I missed something there. Dr. Jim Reddy, entering manual stats like that reminded me of an old play-by-play meeting. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, back then, that's all we had, right? So that was okay. It was actually even cool, because you were in these mail leagues. You have to play by yourself. You know what I mean? So that was cool. But now we know so much more, and we have so much more technology. It's like, can't we all just get on the same, thing? So a lot of us do play for the stats in the end. I mean, I don't want to get to July and not know that, how many home runs Lance Parrish has, I would really love to know in that XHL league who's leading the league in scoring. I have zero clue who's leading the league in scoring. Anyway, I just think it would be cool. John talking about, so I'm trying to skip just the regular chats. John's saying he hasn't seen any stats on it either. Am I wrong that somebody was supposed to be doing that? I also just joined, not just joined, but I am joined on a basketball League of America co-op. They seem like they do have the stats. I think they do from the year before. They definitely seem to know who the good players were and who weren't. I have to table that in my head because I'm not sure I did see any stats. But again, once again, everyone is told they can use their own. They can use the primetime helper. They can use, there's Mike Mikowski's came out with his spreadsheet for that. You can use that if you want, and then I guess somebody is going to then do the stats. I cringe when I hear that because I just feel like that's so much work on one person, and I think it's unneeded work by one person. I don't think you should have to. We got too many tools out there, guys, to put all this on one person or two people to do the stats for a co-op league. I cringe. I can tell you that I will probably not join co-ops moving forward when I see that. Just my own personal thing. I just think that it's, I'm not saying I shouldn't say I won't join. I don't. I think I will cringe at the thought of it. I know I won't join any co-ops where I have to do my own hand entry after already giving you something digital, or have the ability to give you something digital for my play. If it's a league where the commissioner is, taking on the hand input and is doing well with it, then great. That I could see me joining. But I don't see me joining ever a league where we have this website. That's what that 84 season has. I'm sorry, I'm not ragging you guys. It's working for you. And I can't believe Kevin Thomas is basically kind of taken that thing over. At least he markets it. I believe they're close to mid-season or maybe even further. So they're doing great with it. And it's working for people who are popping in and popping out of that. But I think they're popping in and popping out because you can't just play a game and take a screenshot of your box score or send the box score to somebody again so they can hand input it. You have to go in and hand put every player on hit, run, blah, blah, blah. Literally felt like it took me longer to hand input the results into that web interface than it did for me to play the game. And that's not going to be any fun for me. So that's why I walked away from it. So if I see stuff like that in a co-op, I'm glad it works for other people. I will be exit stage left. No, thank you. I'm not going to spend my time hand inputting a game like that. So like in our XHL league, the only thing they ask of us outside of, they ask for those statistics they haven't done anything with, and it's not a big deal because you can't just cut and paste your box score from hockey. But they ask us to go in and update the schedule with the score, and they ask us to make changes to the win-loss records and standings. Okay, that just takes me 2 minutes. Okay, I can do that. But anyway, I'm going off on tangent. So I have Strat do the other. Oh, so are you using Strat PC then? I have had that before. Before I still have it. I haven't messed with it a ton. Like I had the early version of it. Didn't think it was all that great. But I have heard there's been some tremendous improvements. So are you playing Strat manual, John? And then, or you just, I don't know. I'm kind of interested in how you're doing all that. It sounds interesting. Yep, no other options. Yeah, I know, man. But yeah, I don't know if you were here last week, but I talked about, or in one of my last shows, I talked about score sheet baseball. I wonder if you ever played that. And having that little stapled 3 pieces of paper come in, how your team did based on the results of the Major League Baseball. That was so cool. And I think it was Ian and I were talking about it. And Ian is already, we've kind of been back and forth with thinking about trying to join a score sheet league. So that was kind of, I guess they're still out there. I haven't looked. Mike talks about, I thought James Hart was going to keep the stats. Look, I'm going to say this as nice as I can about James Hart. Podcast extraordinaire. I love listening to James stuff, but he's probably like me, overloaded. And the last person to finish any games in that XHL league is James Hart. How in the world is he going to do stats when he can't even get his games in? So I don't. If it was James, that makes total sense because no way he has time. That guy's kicking out great shows. Isn't he now on the Play? Isn't he like the host of the Play podcast as well? Dude's got way too much on his plate. No way he's going to do our stats for our league. So if that's true, if that's what was initially agreed to or initially thought about, now I see why we're not getting stats. That guy can't get his games in, which and I'm not ragging James for not getting his games in. I think it's just because that dude is busy. He's got his own set of huge projects, does an amazing podcast. And I believe now is taking on the Play piece as well, podcast with Al Wilson. So if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but that's what I think is going on there. So just some more chat going on between people. You play HME manual and then you add the stuff into Strat's computer game. Gotcha. Thank you. Okay. That's cool. I didn't know you. See, this is why I think Strat's games PC games probably got a lot better. When I used it, you couldn't do that. So that's fantastic. I have to look back into that. I actually had their game on my phone at one point. Football, baseball, both. I had on my phone, which was really cool. But like I said, for a long replay, there was some, I don't remember, but there were some things missing on it for me. And then, okay, so it looks like I went on about James Cast, and I thought he was running Chicago. No? Am I wrong? The Chicago guy is the one who's always the last one to get anything in, whoever that is. I thought that was James Cast. So, James, I apologize. It's not you. So, if James Hart, I'm getting James Hart and James Cast mixed up. That's why. Ugh. I figured it out myself real quick. Apologies. Let's just erase that part of the show. Okay, yeah. And you're saying James Hart now. Yep. So anyway, I got those two guys mixed up. Okay. So I'm confused. So is James, let me make sure I got this. Is James Hart Chicago? If James Hart is Chicago, am I wrong in saying, first of all, he's the last one to get his games in? Tell me that. I'm pretty sure, maybe not this month, because actually I think it's Sunshine State that's not got their games in. But John Heckel's saying, yes, I'm right. Thank you, John. And Mike's confirming as well. Okay, so, but I think he did them this month before. I think the last guy to get stuff in is, and we're on the last day of the month. As of yesterday, I looked, and the Sunshine State, I believe that's the games that are still left. Anyway, but I'm right about the Chicago guy is the last one to get stuff in. So how can we expect that that's the guy who's going to do stats? I mean, whoever, I guess because I definitely got my James Hart and James Cat mixed up. How are they going to be expected to do stats for a league when you're the last person to get your games done? That person obviously just does not have time. So I don't see that happening. Anyway, if you're going to start, that kind of throws me into, if you're going to do a co-op league, have the things, have a, for me, have a agreed upon system of entry of how you're going to do it. I think the whole idea of allowing anybody to use whatever they want, unless you, the commissioner, are going to take on that ginormous task that Mike takes on and put it all in yourself, I think you're going to lose people. That's my opinion. You're going to lose people in your replay because in your co-op replay because you're going to burn them out. Because got to remember that a lot of people get into. I think we've had an incredible. Mike's loving me bust somebody's butt that I didn't even mean to. I'm busting the Chicago. I'm not busting the Chicago guys' butt. I'm busting the idea. I just want to say I'm busting the idea that that league expects the last guy to put in his stuff to run the stats. It's chaotic to me. And what I was just about to say, despite that, that seems to be a very high energy co-op league that everybody is definitely into, and it seems to really be doing great in, and having fun with, despite us not having the stats. All we have is our team records. That's it. And so that seems to be a high energy, and probably from what I've seen is not. I'm in a few other co-ops and none. I shouldn't say that the Blam League really has a lot of people really into it. The basketball one. Yeah, we haven't even played a game yet. We start coming up to, I think, tomorrow turns the calendar into February, and I think we're starting somewhere in first week of February, somewhere in there. But anyway, let me go back to what I was saying, which is if you're going to start a co-op league, my recommendation is everybody use the same tool, so that you don't put the pressure on somebody to do all the work and then not get it, like we don't get in the XHL. So that's just my opinion. John's popping in. Sometimes putting in stats for others takes time away from getting your own games in. Absolutely. And I know we all love the stats, and I'm sitting here talking about how I'd love to know who's leading the league in scoring. I'd love to even know who's leading my team in scoring. I haven't even looked at that because I just put them into a spreadsheet and put the spreadsheet up. And that spreadsheet, because I'm not running the entire league, I'm just doing it in an Excel spreadsheet, my own made up Excel spreadsheet. So I'm not keeping stats, not even my own team stats. So anyway, I just think that it would be nice to stumble upon a co-op where there are some pretty set rules to the co-op that are going to ensure the longevity of that league and the continuity of that league, and knowing everybody's using the same thing. I would love to just see one. I can honestly say I haven't seen one yet. So maybe it's just not going to happen. And John's talking Semis. He leads the league in scoring. My guy, really? I'd be shocked. Honestly, I'd be shocked. I'd be more thinking that I'm having a brain fart. My real NHL player. Oh, why am I having a brain fart on him? Would be leading the league. I know he's like 20 out of 22 in pregame. The pregame shootout. But Semis is my second best player, so I'd be surprised if he was leading the league. He is a stud. I 100% agree he's a stud, but he's my number 2 player. So I'm surprised if he's leading the league. Plus, I think I've gotten shut out the last 3 times I've played anybody, including on my own tabletop. I got shut out. So I'm surprised if he's leading the league, but that's interesting if he is. Reinhardt, that's the guy. Thank you. I don't know why that just, yeah. And you're saying Reinhardt, yeah, he's got that 4-star shot, I believe. And so he like almost always scores in the pregame shootout. And then it seems like for me, when I'm playing, he comes up right away to start the game and scores. And so I get a pregame shootout, 1-0, I get that. And then I get a 1-0 lead with Reinhardt. And but it's interesting if it's in. Anyway, moving on. I think we got to talk about some different things. Got to talk about co-op today. So that was good. I do have to get out of here and get to that puppy adoption event. So I thank everybody for stopping by. Tuesday, I am hoping to make it to storage so I can get the 75 Reds, 73 A's out on deck baseball. I think that's going to be so much fun. I believe, I hope and Ian, if you're still on here, you can jump in the chat and post, but I believe Ian, the developer, is going to actually be on for that. We're toggling with the idea of doing a like an announcer and commentator kind of on the game. So where like I'm announcing it and he's the color commentator, kind of idea. We're bouncing that around, and we might try that Tuesday. And since we've never done it before, it may turn out horrible, but that's what we're thinking about doing. Saturday again, I have a guest lined up, but I want to confirm with him that he's still good for Saturday. And he is definitely one of the. They're all, because I don't ever want to single any developer out, because they're all amazing. And when I say developers, I always put Appa and Strat in the back corner because they have owners to me and not really developers. Their game is set in stone and they just kick out the new season. But and nothing new to their game. Please tell me when the last time there was something different about Appa or Strat. It's the same thing every year, and people love that consistency, and I get it. And I have their games, so not ragging that, but I don't call them developers. But when you have guys like Ian and you have guys like John Turnbull and you got guys like Keith, Avalon, and all these others, and I hate ST, and I shouldn't have started naming names because I'm going to forget somebody in here. They're developers to me because they're always coming up with like new games and new stuff, and they're just not. They didn't just kick out one game and then say, okay, now I'm just going to kick out season after season, and in my little template here, Ian's only got one game, his baseball game, but he's kicked out fictional leagues with it. So he's getting creative, and of course I've gone on and on about his creative look on his cards, and you'll see him next week when I play that game. So anyway, the developers, I forgot where I was going with all that, got off on a rant, but I will have a developer on next week, and I hope to. He's, like I said, he had agreed to come on. I think all of you know him. There's no doubt you know him. So as long as he's on next week, that should be great. And I still have to get a gamer on with him. So I didn't want to even approach that until I got a confirmation from him that he's going to be on. And then I want to get somebody who is well versed in his game, which I happen to be as well. But I want somebody on the show who's also well versed in his game, so that we can all three kind of talk about the games. I shouldn't say just game. He produces games, and talk a lot about his games. So that's the plan for next week. Tuesday, everything should get back on track time wise. Tuesday, I'll have a topic for the show. Anybody wants to throw things out, throw them out there. And then again, Saturday will be a developer and his game and talking about that. So thanks for jumping on this Saturday. If I get an opportunity, I may jump in with another show tomorrow, just to maybe even play a game. And maybe that'll re-energize me, just playing a game live. That sometimes re-energizes me. So, but we'll see if I get the time to do it tomorrow or even later tonight. We'll see. Anyway, thanks again, guys. Have a fantastic game. Oh, John's asking what games Ian produces. Ian produces On Deck Baseball. Go just, if you Google it, it shows right up his website. His games, John, are freaking fantastic. He makes almost no money off them. They are front and back cards. You only really need the back to play the game, so don't think you'll be flipping the game constantly. And he has artwork that are on the cards. And if you go back and listen to the show he was on, you'll hear that he actually got a guy. He paid him for all that work. And there's a whole story around it. Go back and listen to the other show with him on it. I think it's fantastic. It's completely different than what anybody else has done. And there is a growing community around On Deck, and all you have to do is look at my poll when I asked what people wanted to see. On Deck won. So do I need to say more? That game is starting to really get some. It's been out for a while. I think I was a little surprised. I think Ian said 5 or 7 years it's been out. But it is really starting to get traction. It's got a fictional set to it. He's got all these like 10 different possibilities. He does not create seasons. Unfortunately, it's too expensive, he said, but he creates great teams and these series of different ones. And I replayed an entire 42 games, 10 teams with his hero set, I think it was, and it was so much fun. And that is yet another game like Payoff Pitch that kept me squared in the entire time. Never put that game down for a second. I went 42 games, 10 teams, and finished that entire season and the playoffs. It was so much fun. So if you haven't checked out On Deck, go check it out. I'm telling you, it is a lot of fun. It's so different. The cards are as big as Strat, if you want an idea. They're that size. They're like a Strat size card, but with some incredible. He has the best looking cards in the business. I always say Payoff Pitch has the best cards in the business, and they do. Those because A, the price, and B, the quality of the card itself. But let me reiterate, let me restate what I mean when I say Ian has the best designed cards in the business. Some of these, some of Keith's stuff comes out, some pretty cool, commemorative sets and things like that are really cool. But on just a consistent, what you're going to get when you get one set, the normal template, nobody beats Ian's. But it's pricier than others. But when you see it, you'll go, oh, okay, I see why it's pricier than others. And it gives you this really cool game box with each one. It's really nice. Worth taking a look at for sure. So I think we just got people saying it. I thought it was Joe something. Joe Bryan is Payoff Pitch, if that's what you're thinking. And not just Payoff Pitch, but Joe is Sideline Sports, which he also does Bank Shot Basketball. All right. So that's really the end of the show. Appreciate you guys all being here, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend.